Hi, I'm Danny with eTrailer, and today we're going to be taking a look at our universal base rails and mounting brackets for our fifth wheel hitch on our 2015 Ford F-350 Super Duty. So if you don't have a factory puck system already in your bed, then these rails are going to be a great option, especially if you're not wanting to mount something underneath your vehicle. These rails are going to be great for attachment points for your fifth wheel hitch. You just use these slots here and drop it in. These rails are universal, meaning that most of the big name brands you're going to be able to just drop in your hardware and be ready to go, such as CURT, Draw-Tite, B&W, of course. Something to consider when you are getting rails is they're going to take some space up in your bed, of course. So the measurement from the top of the rib here is it's sticking up about 2 inches. So that's good to know if you got your fifth wheel hitch in there. You're going to know the total height if you're going to want to protect that with a tonneau cover. These rails will accommodate most fifth wheel hitches that you're going to need. Another thing is to consider is your bed length and your trailer. So you may need sliding fifth wheel attachment here, depending on your trailer, so you don't come into contact with your cab. As far as the install goes, it is a little tricky getting these lined up perfectly, a little daunting drilling into your bed. And there's also a lot of tight spaces to get that torque wrench in there. If that's not something you're wanting to do or you don't have the time or tools, feel free to check out our dealer locator and we can find a professional to do it for you. Without further ado, let's get into the install. To begin our installation, we're going to need to figure out where to put our rearmost bracket here. I went ahead and marked where I'm going to put it just so it's going to be straight. And then I put my tape under here to get a more accurate measurement. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get it to my measurement here, and then I'm going to go ahead and check the sides to triple check that this is going to be straight. And once I do that, I'm going to center it within the wheel wells here. When you get the rail perfectly aligned and where you want it, I'm going to go ahead and get a marker and mark the center of where I'm going to drill. So it's going to be on the outmost holes there, one in the center facing the tailgate, and then on the other side as well. Then I'm going to get my center punch and go right in the center. And now once I punched them, I'm going to take my 1/8 inch drill bit and line it up in the center and go through all these. So I did notice when I was drilling, I went right through the bed, but then I was met with a little bit of resistance, but that's okay. You're meant to drill through the cross member of the bed frame as well. So if you are having that resistance, just go through both and you'll be all good. Get our bracket into place. So I got the driver's side here today, and because these 2 prongs will be facing the tailgate. Another thing to keep in mind is if your truck has airbags, this bolt may interfere with you putting this bracket on. So what we did is cut it off to make this sit flush on our rail here. And now I'm just going to go ahead and test fit this. I put the bolts in just so it holds it into place. You can use like a clamp to clamp it to the rail. But now I'm going to go up underneath and check my 1/8 holes and see if those line up good. If not, I'm going to go ahead and drill another one so I make sure they line up. But mine's looking good, so I'm going to go up top and fully drill through with a 9/16. Now I'm going to go ahead and drill through these. I'm going to spray it with a little bit of silicone, make it a little easier. Now once you've enlarged all your holes, clean up all those burrs so when you pass those bolts through, it doesn't give you any hang-ups. But once you do that, clean your mess up. I'm going to go ahead and spray them down with some spray paint, just so that seals up the bare metal so no corrosion happens later on. put our brackets into place once again. Line up those holes, and you're going to take your bolt with your washer and slide those through. Something to you may want to do is you can put a clamp on this bracket just so it doesn't fall away when you're on the inside trying to put that hardware on these bolts. Then on the back side here, we're just going to put our washer on, our locking washer, and followed by our nut here. And now I'm going to do that to the other side and just get them hand tight. Do not tighten them down at this step. Then the back bolt here is going to be up around this gas tank. And I don't know if it's just a bigger gas tank because it's a diesel or not, but this is very difficult to get to. You're going to want to position your body up between the drive shaft here and get up there to kind of just get it on. I had a buddy hold the other end so he could actually torque the bolt into the nut while I held it on into place. So on the passenger side here, it is going to be slightly different. We're not going to use this hole. We're actually going to use this big oblong one. So you're going to need the spacer that comes in the kit to put it on there when you're putting it on the frame. All right, with it in, I'm going to go ahead get our clamp on just so it's going to hold it into place for us. Tighten that down and get our hardware in. And now I'm going to go ahead and put the hardware on the same way. On this is the bolt closest to the tailgate. Lock washer and my nut here. And get that nice and hand tight. So now we're going to go ahead and put these U-shaped spacers in. Now depending on where your bolts line up on top, you can put these on top. Basically these are to prevent crushing of those ribs in the bed when you tighten everything down. Our bolt landed, so we have to put these on the underneath. But if it lands in the center of the down portion of a rib, you can do this on top. I'm just gonna pry down on this metal here just so I can slip that spacer under. That may be enough. I'm gonna check this out. I'm gonna make sure I do it long ways here so I don't interfere with the ribs of the vehicle. Oh, there we go. Now I just got it wedged in there. I'm going to check from above, make sure the bolt can come in and out nicely, and this isn't going to be impeding the travel of the bolt. So for this middle spacer, it is a little difficult getting that in there. I went ahead and removed the spare tire just so I could get my pry bar at a good angle and pry that metal down so I could slip my spacer in. Okay, with all those spacers installed, we can put our rail in place. Now I'm going to try not to disturb the spacers here when I put my hardware in. Make sure that is fully seated. And I'm just going to put all my bolts in. And now I'm going to go ahead and put my hardware on. So I'm going to first put my offset square washer on here, followed by regular washer, then locking washer. Finally going to just do hand tight nut on the end here. And when getting these on, it might help having someone push down on the top just so you don't push that too far forward and you won't be able to get the nut on. We got our fifth wheel hitch up in here. And what I did was I measured between the feet and I placed this one as close as possible, just so when we set it on there, we could set it close enough to the right spot. I'm gonna go ahead and adjust it so the foot falls into place here. So it just fell in. Now the next step is to center it on the truck bed, just like we did the front one. I'm gonna push the fifth wheel as far forward as I can. And with it pushed forward, I'm gonna get this back rail and I'm gonna just knock it as far back as it can go. And we're looking pretty good there. So now, just like we did in the front, I'm gonna mark the holes, drill them with the 1/8, and go from there. We can go ahead and put the bolts in. On this back one, the only difference is the bolt's gonna be closest to the cab on this back side. But other than that, everything's the same. Push these in, make sure the heads go down. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put our hardware on. Same as before, you got the square offset washer, regular washer, lock washer, and then your nut here. Sometimes the front ones can be a little hard to get, so I just left that lock washer off. I'm gonna go ahead and screw it on tight to get a little more thread so I can get all my hardware on. And now with all of our hardware hand tight on both sides of the vehicle, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten them up with a 19mm socket. And once I tighten them up, I'm gonna come back and torque them all down. Now with all of them tightened down, I'm gonna go ahead and torque them down. And so I'm gonna get my torque wrench here. If you don't have one at home, you can rent one from your local auto parts store, or you can buy one from us at eTrailer. And once you get everything torqued down, now is a good time to throw your fifth wheel in, make sure it goes in nice and smooth, and you're good to go. Now is a look at the installation of our universal base rail kit, as well as our mounting brackets for our fifth wheel on our 2015 F-350 Super Duty.